whoops.
Thank you. It's always good to have a techie around.
It's going off.
Are there any,
Are there any announcements?
That's why we cover technology here.
That's good. I'm glad someone does. We did receive from Verizon a notice of channel changes for their Korean channels and for their Chinese channels. And my understanding is that it's going to all subscribers of those two services rather than in general to your total subscriber list.
that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other reports or announcements? Okay, Radnor Studio 21, Mr. George Strimmel.
And good evening to all of you. I think this mic is now working. Is mine? Can you hear me now? Thank you very much, Verizon. In any case, the programming continues under what I can only call as combat situations. We know that last month and the month before and whatever months we haven't, that the obligation of fixing the studio was being worked upon. Well, it's still being worked upon. We are operating primarily with a single camera, which we had purchased some years ago. The camera that you see on, let's just say, on the school channel covering the football games, and on our channel covering the soccer games, and on our studio productions is all the same camera, our one functioning camera that we lend out, use as expeditiously as we can. But let me tell you, people are not happy. We have had a camera brought back to us, one of the original studio cameras of some 20-some years, that has been fixed. That camera, unfortunately, the lens didn't work right, so it came back with a substitute lens. We can work around it and are doing our best. So in effect now, hopefully as of tomorrow, we will have a camera for the studio, single, no better than you've heard about before, with a substitute lens, a distinct move backwards. We can't focus it except manually, and no second camera. I have received information from Comcast that indeed they are you ready for this? Working on it. And that working on it will include 2 studio cameras. The problem is that they went forth with fixing the camera that did come back and at least hopefully fixing the lens that works. I know this all sounds like technical moaning and groaning, but the fact is it's the only stuff that makes programs. I sat there tonight with Joe Kimmel, and Joe wanted to do a show, but unfortunately we couldn't really accommodate him because until earlier in the day we couldn't even restructure what we had. Some things have been done. Our intercom has come back, but an intercom only allows a director to tell the cameras to move in and move out. And of course, if the cameras can't move in and out, move in or move out, it's a little bit moot, if you will. But when those cameras arrive, and I have been assured that they will come, the only thing that we have is a question between what work Comcast has already done. And I did talk to Kevin just yesterday, and he sends his apologies of not being able to be here tonight. It's a question of the repairs that have been done thus far that they authorized. They have a subcontractor, very reputable, that was given over this, but then everybody argued and who's going to pay for what, etc. There's no secret that they have come to Radnor Studio 21 and said, well, I know you have some grant money, would you please put that into this? That's where we stand at this moment. Is it acceptable? I have been dealing with a lousy situation, excuse my vernacular here, but certainly less than professional situation since, well, before March, and if not longer. What can we do? We can only wait and work with them, and that's what we are doing. Please be assured that we want a solution here, and we expect a solution, and I am sure we will get a solution. And we have on our Radnor Studio 21's board are patient. When presented with a $10,000 request, our board said, no, we're not going to do it. That may come in for less. It isn't that we don't have a grant, indeed we do, but we could use it in things that aren't provided in this to upgrade. What more can I tell you except there's the truth?
You have a delivery date for the cameras?
What's that?
Do you have a delivery date for the cameras?
Soon?
George, with regard to the repairs that were made to studio equipment?
Yes.
Were you or anybody else who represented Channel 21 consulted before those repairs were made?
No, nor we have been consulted with any obligations. That is between Comcast and their subcontractor. I do understand that they will now provide us with 2 new-to-us cameras, not new cameras, but new-to-us cameras. Perfectly acceptable cameras of a high quality, but maybe 5 years old or whatever it is. The best of the last, if you will.
Okay.
And that's fine, because we're not in the high-def business, and we would like to see better, but we'll take what we can get. But we haven't gotten anything.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? No? All right, thank you, George.
Well, you're welcome. Incidentally, we've done our best, and we do have a lot of programs coming up about our forthcoming elections, much of which has been done elsewhere, but we will be able to cover both county and local races. So we haven't gone out of business. As a matter of fact, we've grown and done a lot more programming thanks to things that we had purchased through grants and funds we had accumulated before, so that we're able to bring in the programs that we think are really quite excellent. In the coming week, the week that starts literally tomorrow in our world, tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, we'll do 37 different programs during that week with repeats of all kinds. They will cover a lot of local things and a lot of things of great interest, including our programs that we are getting these days from various top-notch universities from around the country and indeed from around the world. So we continue to grow. We just like to grow in our own place with better equipment.
So the real, George, I know you've made, an extraordinary effort, you and your crew, to keep the station on the air. So both with the programs that you've acquired and others, the real loss to the township is the fact that you cannot produce quality shows in the studio with local people coming in to sit in the studio before the cameras to prepare a program. Is that the real loss?
You have exactly hit it.
So really what's been affected by the slowness, we'll put it, of rectifying this problem has been the participation or in the involvement of the local Radnor citizens in doing programs which they have done for many years, and some new programs that some of them may have in mind to do. And that's would be the loss to the township because this problem has not been corrected.
Yes, this is a place for people, and the people, local people, have not had the opportunity to get a quality production. Yes, we can do some production, but a lot of it looks like a police lineup. I mean, it is not the best of television production. You need 2 matched cameras to accomplish this. I've been assured that we are going to get those cameras. But then the question is, okay, who pays for all the stuff that we started, much of which we would no longer need if we get those 2 cameras?
The issue that we have is that Radnor Studio 21, its programmings compete with programs on all the other channels there. And when there is not production quality and the shows look poor and its sound is poor, people are going to switch to an alternative just because the presentation itself is lacking in real quality.
Yes.
And that's what we're suffering from under the conditions in the
And
studio
have been for
today.
almost a year. Thank you. That's exactly it.
Art, I have a quick question. At our September meeting, we adopted a resolution, I believe, that Bruce had prepared, which basically required movement on this issue, or action was going to be taken under the agreement with Comcast. Are we standing down from that resolution at this point? Do we push that further forward? Because, you know, we heard all the things that we always hear when we start pushing a little harder. But then, you know, unfortunately, George comes back to us and begins his remarks with a recitation of the same problems that we thought we had moved forward on the month prior.
I would say that some of the problems, the more minor problems, have been addressed. And I appreciate that. But the major problem of having a matched 2-camera operation have not been solved. I am assured, as of yesterday, that that is being accomplished. But if words are one thing and accomplishment are another, we have words. I don't doubt the fact that they are working on it. I don't doubt for 1 minute that this is new to them and beyond them in many ways. They are trying, but they're trying to do it within a mandate that requires constant economies, forgetting that Comcast, and I can't speak for Verizon, Comcast is taking between $8 and $10 million out of this township every year. So could they come up with a couple extra bucks? I would think so, but I don't think the people we are dealing with have that authority.
To answer your question, they are attempting at least to move forward, and our chairman has been assured that it would be solved. That was last Friday of last Friday. My position would be very simply that we struggle along with it for a little bit, but unless there is actual remedy of the situation so that we're back on air and that we can create shows with production quality, and if that does not happen by our next meeting, then I would recommend that at that point in time we send it forward to the commissioners, because you know, we're trying to work with them in good faith. We assume that they're working with us in good faith, but 2 months is much too long to solve this problem, regardless of the ins and outs of it as to how we got to where we are today. But I think that probably be where I would stand. Bruce, do you have some other feeling on that?
No, I would agree with that, and we might think about that at the next meeting, including with that notice, also a notice that the township is resorting to formal renewal proceedings under the Communications Act of 1984.
And just so everyone understands what a formal renewal process is, Bruce, could you outline it very briefly?
We are in the renewal period for the Comcast franchise, which begins 36 months before the expiration of the franchise in June 2011. So we are 15 months or so into that process. there are two alternatives to renewal. One is the informal process, whereby we simply negotiate with Comcast and attempt to arrive at a satisfactory agreement. Under a formal renewal process, this council would hold hearings exploring the needs of the township with respect to cable communications, looking into the performance of Comcast under its existing franchise, or looking into the non-performance of Comcast under its existing franchise, formulate a request for proposal, and then extend that to Comcast as well as others.
Right. And am I correct that the standard, the community standard, is that of our last franchise agreement?
Well, that certainly would be relevant to the needs and the needs of the township, yes.
Right, so it's, the last one that we entered into was with Verizon, and it's certainly indicative of what the council and then the commission has believed was in the best interest of the township and its citizens. Okay.
Well, on behalf of Radnor Studio 21, we thank you, reminding you that we actually are not signatory to any agreement. So it entirely is up to you representing the township to carry this forth. Is there a problem? Well, to quote the man who founded the university to which I went, there is an alarm, a fire alarm in the night here. We have a problem. You cannot remember what we are doing today through bringing in programs and what have you is all based upon equipment that we purchased. All we're talking about is the equipment that Comcast, under their agreement, has agreed to provide to this township. We're not talking about any other kinds of equipment. That which we acquired and that which we operate and that which gives us a voice to this day.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Comcast is not here. We will make note of that despite the currency of the issues which we have before us. They're not here to make any presentation. But we do have our friends from Verizon. Would you please come forward, John?
Thank you very much. My name is John Strasser again, for all of you that may have forgotten. I really don't have much of an update. Arthur, you had given part of my update with the change in the Chinese and Korean packages that we had sent out, and we'll be sending to the customers, and they have already got it, which is 30 days in advance of the change. So the only new things that I would bring up at the meeting today is we have some new features on the Fios TV network, and they are involved in our widget features, which basically is an integration with the internet, where one is called our weather bug, which gives local weather and by zip code. You used to only be able to set your own local zip code. Now you can set several. I believe it's up to 5 or 7. And it also offers 7-day weather, hour-by-hour weather, and also you can get a real-time radar picture of the area as well. So that's the newest feature. You can also access Twitter and Facebook through the TV now, for any of those that like to access those sites. And we also have a Red Zone feature, which is with the NFL Red Zone channel. It's basically a widgets feature. You can go on, you'll see all the scores and everything throughout the widgets feature, basically combining the internet and TV. So those are the new features that are on the network as of right now. And other than that, I'd open myself up to questions.
On your widgets, do you have a traffic report?
We do. There's a traffic report. Those are all what started. They came out when we opened. It came out with a weather feature, but now this weather bug is an upgrade to that feature. It has local weather. There is a community widgets on there, but that has not been activated yet. Soon to be. Like I said, there Twitter, Facebook. There's a fantasy football link. If you're an ESPN.com fantasy football player, you can access that through the the widgets feature as well. So there's plenty of interactive features throughout the Verizon Fios system right now.
Thank you very much. John, do you have, and Bruce, does anybody have any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For those who have been ardently following this committee and its work, we've had some work done on revising the ordinance that applies to the Wi-Fi issue. John has been chairing the subcommittee. John, do you want to bring us up to date on where we are?
Sure, thanks. When last we met, we had just finished a presentation to the Planning Commission, which is the body that is charged with reviewing the proposed changes to the wireless communication facilities section of the code that we've been working on. As I mentioned at our last meeting, the Planning Commission had several questions and comments for us at that presentation. And in response to that appearance and those comments, we have prepared a revised set of revisions to the code that incorporated both questions and comments that the Planning Commission had for us when we appeared before them in September, and also one or two minor comments that the Delaware County Planning Commission also had for us, for the township generally, when it reviewed the changes a bit earlier this year. After preparing that revision to our work, we forwarded it along to our telecommunications council in Washington, D.C. For review with a particular eye toward compliance with those provisions of the Telecommunications Act that pertain to the area that we're working with. We've received those comments. They are pretty technical in nature. We'll be working on incorporating changes where necessary to the revised code that we produced, and it's our expectation that we will have a revised document ready for presentation to the Planning Commission at its meeting on Monday, November the 2nd. Again, the timing is such that to the extent that we're looking to conclude this process in the 2009 calendar year, it's important for us to hit that November 2nd meeting at the Planning Commission. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, my only comment or question is that in general, with all the revisions that would be made in response to the various agencies and so on, it is still pretty much the way that in its essential portions, the way we have already looked at it, this committee has already looked at it. There's no radical departure. There's some lawyer tweaking, and there's a few questions that have come for conformance to both Delaware County and from the Planning Commission from the Radnor standpoint. But other than that, we're pretty much on the same page in the same document that we've had.
That's right. I mean, there are no really substantial, game-changing type revisions that have been prompted either by our council's comments or Planning Commission comments.
Then, with the concurrence of the other members of the council, I would recommend that we send it on to the Planning Commission and to work with them as necessary to move it forward from their council to the Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman,
We have,
I wonder if we could also include our interim township solicitor there also, John. If you could, when you have the final copy before it goes to planning, I'd like to have Mr. Rice take a look at it to make sure we're still okay.
Steve, yeah, that's a very good point, because there are one or two areas where we will be looking for his weigh in on, so that's fine, and we
Okay.
will certainly make sure that.
If you get it to me, I'll make sure he
You're
gets it.
copied on it.
Thank you.
With that, if we have consensus from the council, we'll send it on to planning and to council. Okay, so done. Are there any other items of business that should come before this?
Mr. Chairman, just to let you know, T-Mobile has sent a letter of intent, and also I just received drawings here to establish a cellular site on the tower here directly next to the building. They're going to co-locate along with Verizon Wireless. It went through the design review board already and passed. I just got the documents. I'll forward them to you, and I'll ask them, as per normal procedure, to give a presentation to the committee.
That would be in November.
That'll be in November, yes. I'll make sure that Mr. Petroza is aware of that, and I'll make sure that the committee has all of the documentation. Okay?
Thank you very much. Is there anything else? Then we stand adjourned. Good night.